Hi everyone and welcome back. For today's video we're going to do a updated how am I using my journals? I don't know how else to word it. Basically all the journals I'm using and how I'm using them. I felt like that would be a fun, productive little video. So we'll do this one last because this is the newest one and kind of what I'm most excited about right now. These are, you know them well. If you've watched my videos before, well, we are very well acquainted with these books. This one doesn't have a name. This one's Roxy. But, so, we have the whole three are, this is my Hobonichi Weeks, my Hobonichi Cousin, and a Field Notes. So my Hobonichi Weeks is being used as a media hobby journal. So I am tracking what I am reading, watching, listening to, things like that. I'm using the blank page to do collages, kind of as a junk journal where I'm putting in receipts from orders, thank you cards. This is kind of like a review on Mayhem, and not really a review, it's my top 5 from Lady Gaga's new album, Mayhem. It's a little junk journal of little bits from an envelope, things like that. So just a fun, silly little journal where I am including all hobbies, hyperfixations, things like that. And then in the back, I am tracking how many books I am reading this year. So we have that page and that one so far. And some Swedish terms. And that's about it. So that is the Hobonichi Weeks. We love her. My Hobonichi Cousin. And if you want a more thorough look at these, I have flip throughs where I go through every single page. So I don't want to bore you with just the same content over and over and over again. But if you do want a more thorough look in the details about it, feel free to go through my previous videos where I do closer flip throughs. So my Hobonichi Cousin is used as a daily journal. So this is basically just where I write what I did that day, any appointments, tasks, work things. So this is monthly section where we do appointments, big events happening. This is my daily tasks specifically for work. And then I use this bottom section for tarot. Some weeks I use it a lot, some weeks I do not. And that's okay. Like, as you can see, this was a crazy week, and just some weeks are busier than others. And then the daily section is just for my daily writing. And I journal about things I did that day from waking up. And I have a lot of health issues, whereas I struggle with my sleep, I have anxiety problems, things like that. So it's a lot of needing to track how my anxiety is, how I'm sleeping, how I'm feeling on certain medications to get back to my doctors. So in my daily journaling, I usually like to kind of check in with how I'm feeling. So it's usually like, yeah, so like here I said, surprise, surprise, I woke up with some anxiety. It's usually how I start these, is how I'm feeling when I first wake up. And I usually will put down a time if I'm journaling day of. Sometimes I come back and journal next day and I will not put a time. And I differentiate that between colors. So that's more frequent that I've started doing that. So yes, here. So like this is day of in red journaling. The green is when the next day when I came back and was filling in any blank spots. So I usually, like I said, check in the morning with how I'm feeling, with how I slept, if I had any weird dreams. And then the rest of the journaling is just what I did that day, if I have any random thoughts. Sometimes it's stuff with work. So like, here, what's today? Here, I wrote all that I needed to film today, things like that. So, I mean, each journaler is different, but I mostly just use it to track what's going on in my day and what I've been up to. And it is fun to flip through and see certain ones. So like, oh, where is it? Here. Okay, so here's when I got my wisdom teeth out. So it's a full account of like, while I am still high on meds, basically, me writing down how I was feeling, how the procedure went, things like that. So just the joys of daily journaling and being able to go back. And it's also really funny when like one day I'm having the worst day ever, and then the day right next to it is the best day ever. Those are really, really funny to kind of look back and be like, okay, was it really the worst day ever? Was it really that bad? Sometimes it is, but usually it is not. Usually I'm just dramatic. So yeah, just how I use my daily journaler. And then the most frequent addition is my field notes. So I have used and completely filled up a field notes before. Here she is. And this was from September 17th to December 31st of 2024. And this was kind of like a commonplace hybrid of sorts, where I was doing some typical commonplacing, which is like writing down things that are not your own words, if that makes sense. So like articles, quotes, information that you would like to keep or research, things like that. This was more of just a hybrid. So I did do that, but I also was writing a lot of like personal journal pages and things like that. And I do have a video where I did a full flip through of this Commonplace book. So if you're interested in that, you can go and find that one. It's a couple of videos back. But we will focus on the new field notes. I just decorated the front. I'm really proud of it. We have a googly eye. This is one of my stickers from my shop. I have it over here. Read More Horror. And then just watch more horror and a horror Patreon sticker. So I am using this field notes as a more strict commonplacing book. I'm sure I will every now and then have some personal journal pages. It's me. But I'm trying to use it more for research, writing down articles, things like that. So let's go over the key real quick. I have personal / brain dump, special interest / quotes, and then other. And here I kind of just wrote like just a little beginner blurb, like starting my second field notes. Tried to give another notebook a chance to have a commonplace, and I didn't like it as much. I just love the shape and the size of the field notes. It works for me. My first page had to be dedicated to Bride of Frankenstein. I think I've started a trend where my first page is always dedicated to just like my favorite girly of the moment or like of all time. So in my first field notes, it was Mary Shelley, who's one of my favorite human beings. I just adore her. I adore her story. She's always been a special interest of mine. I've done many papers on her, researched her a ton. And so I guess to continue the theme, we went with the Bride of Frankenstein. And I found this article about how the actress moves in the movie, which if you have seen Bride of Frankenstein, she's not in the movie a lot. She's only there for a hot minute towards the end. And I remember when we watched it recently, I loved how she moved and how she moved so differently than Monster of Frankenstein, the male version. And so it just, I don't know, when we were watching it, I was like, it's interesting how different they are when they're kind of meant to be the same monster. Like one was made for the other, if that makes sense. And we have a certain special edition of a Universal Monsters like CD disc set, and it comes with like special behind the scenes interviews, the making of type of thing. And we watched it after we finished Bride of Frankenstein, and it was talking about how she was inspired by swans for the movements of Bride. So the hissing, the jerky movements, the kind of like bird-like portrayal that she put on, it was just so cool. And so I found an excerpt from Universal Horrors, the studio's classic films, and I wrote it down, where it's basically just talking about that, how she was inspired by the swans. Like it says, particularly in the way they hissed when provoked, staring wide-eyed, jerkily reacting to every movement around her. It's a tightly coiled performance of sheer instinct and energy. And then it also goes on to talk about her hair, which I thought was really cool. So, just very interesting. I love the Bride. Wish we had more of her. And here was a little thing that CoStar gave me on my birthday. CoStar is an astrology app. I love me some astrology. Don't come at me. I know it's not like the most well-loved, scientifically accurate thing. The world's melting. Let me have my little astrology fascination. It's not hurting anyone. So CoStar is insane app. It sends you the most wild things every day. Like, I think today it said peel the onion, whatever that means. A couple days ago it said be the tumbleweed. Like, it kind of just makes me giggle every day. And then some days it's like really deep with like, you're allowed to feel lonely or cry for yourself today and things like that. So it's a fun little app. I enjoy having the notifications on. My friend convinced me to turn my notifications on. But anyways, I went off track. This is a like life timeline of sorts that it gave me on my birthday, where it's like baby you, elementary menace, teenage disaster, now. And it was really cute. And I just thought it was really fun. It kind of like separates your life up into these parts based on your chart. And some of the quotes like really resonated with me. So like, I think in the elementary menace period, it said cried during recess because everyone was playing wrong but couldn't explain why. And that's not being autistic. Like, yes, thank you. And it's accurate. Yeah, no one was playing right. And then I think during teenage disaster, it said scared everyone with that death stare. And yeah, I mean, I've always had a resting bitch face, so. And then still starting fights with the universe, but now you've got strategy. So like, it was just goofy, silly, and I connected with some bits of it, and I really enjoyed it. So this is more of like a personal bit, but I did include the screenshot of the timeline that CoStar gave me. And then this is suddenly turned into me flipping through my field notes. I didn't mean to do that. I'm just not realizing. I guess we'll keep going. There's only like 1 or 2 pages after this, so it's okay that I'm doing this, but yeah, okay, here we go. It didn't mean for this to be a field notes flip through. This is how excited I get over these little things. And this is why I had to have a whole book about my special interest and hyperfixations and things like that, because I just get carried away like I just did. So, okay, here we go. Back on track with, let's just keep digging through. So I started watching Hannibal, and it has changed my life. If you follow me on Instagram, you are well aware, because I've been constantly posting about it on my story. I'm kind of unhealthily obsessed with this show, and that hasn't happened in a really long time. I struggle to watch shows, and so I think that makes this hyperfixation even stronger, because I haven't had one in so long that I'm like, yes! So I've made myself slow down. I haven't watched it in 2 days because I want to like drag out the second season, because there's only 3 seasons. But this was when I first started it and when I finished season 1. And I think I'll probably do like pages like this when I finish each season. So I'm almost finished with season 2. And I'm talking really fast because I'm getting excited, so I need to calm down. So yes, I will probably do something like this when I finish season 2. But yeah, I love this page. I like how it's kind of minimal, but still, like, I love the graph paper. I was trying out the Gothic font, and I don't know. I just love how these pages look. They make my brain happy. Next, I did my spring playlist. I love doing these seasonal playlists. I did a bunch in this field notes. I did a fall one and a winter one. And so felt like I had to do a spring one. And I think they're really fun to like look back on and just see what you were listening to at the time. And I always try and do like a collage with them. So that's another like kind of what I'm into vibe wise. And so yeah, I highly recommend doing seasonal playlists. They're really fun. But some of the songs, so we have Back to Me by the Marias, At Home by Slow Pulp, Dream Woman by Suki Waterhouse, Gypsy by Fleetwood Mac, Cloud Busting by Kate Bush. So just some that have been on my like frequently listened to. It's not all new songs. Some of them are newer songs, but a lot of them are just like what I've been really listening to during this season. And then this is my most recent page, the last ones I've done. And this is based on some articles that I found, and I kind of went down a rabbit hole. But this was a paper called Fangs and Femininity, Victorian Values and the Vampires by Catherine Powers. And I actually found this article through Beatrix Journals, I believe, on Tumblr and on YouTube. They did a hyperfixation journaling video about vampires and like Nosferatu and things like that. And I was just interested in some of the articles that they read. And when I found this, there was a section on it about kind of like the connection between vampires and eating disorders, specifically anorexia, and specifically during the Victorian time. And I found it so interesting. Like it was just like, it was something I'd never thought of. And I didn't expect to find it in that paper. The paper I thought was going to be a lot about how early vampire books like Carmilla and Dracula really villainized women, and specifically women's sexuality. And so that's kind of what I was expecting going into this paper, which it did focus on mostly. But that one little bit about the connection with eating disorders, I just thought was so interesting. And it kind of led me down this rabbit hole of fasting girls. And so I started here, which was about that paper, and then went down the rabbit hole and found some other articles about fasting girls, which is basically this time in the Victorian era where girls were praised and seen almost saint-like for fasting. And this is during the time when anorexia was first established. I guess not established isn't the right word. First coined, first the term was made. The diagnosis was created basically, because all of these young girls were starving themselves because they were getting attention and finally being shown respect. Like a lot of these girls were being treated as saints, is I guess the best word. They were being brought gifts, being revered. People would go on pilgrimages to their homes. Like it was just insane to read about. And I found an article about one girl specifically named Sarah Jacobs, who sadly passed away. And after not eating for 2 weeks. And it was just an insane read. The article that I read is Wonders of God, the Strange Phenomenon of Fasting Girls by Felicity Day. And yeah, it was just very interesting. It's something that I had never ever heard about, and I was a women and gender studies minor in college, and so I've always had an interest with feminine studies and things like that, and for this to be like a huge thing in the Victorian era where, you know, girls were quite literally killing themselves to just be seen and respected for like the first times in their lives, that's insane. So me yet again just blabbing and going into my special interest and not being able to shut up, but very cool. If you're into that, highly recommend these articles. I can include them down below if anyone's interested. So yeah, just let me know. But that is it so far. And I'm thinking I will do a video where maybe we do a commonplacing page together. I feel like that would be fun. So yeah, this is my new obsession right now. I just love how the pages are turning out. I'm loving finding new special interests, researching new things, going down the rabbit holes, and yeah, just really, really enjoying it. So this video turned into not what I expected it to turn into, but that's okay. So that is how I am using all of my journals. And these are all, this is all that I'm using. Only these 3 now. I have finally found my perfect little trio. So yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. If you have any special interests or articles or papers or anything of the sort, please leave them down below, or feel free to DM me on Instagram. I am constantly looking for new things to write about in my Commonplace book. It's just like become this huge passion of mine. So I love all things vampire, Victorian, gothic, horror, feminist, things like that. So I would love to hear any of your special interests as well. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Have a good day. Bye.